Welcome to season 3, episode 6 of the Conversation Chat. Well, we were off last week due to schedule conflicts. Boy, ready to talk New York baseball with my co-host Elio and you all. So, without any further hesitation, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It is going great, Jamie. Again, long time no see, couple of weeks off. Very happy to see you. Not exactly happy with the way my favorite team has been playing here lately, but we'll certainly talk about that. And again, we got 2 weeks worth of stuff to talk about here. So I think we're going to have a great show. Can't wait to talk about
it. It looks like they've been playing better the last 2 games, so that's good.
To start.
But anyway, Joe, guess what? I know I really do feel bad for you and the Mets and how they've started out this season, but our number one when it comes to this very important stat as per USA Today, and I'm going to read this article to you and tell you what they're number one in.
At being a joke?
So all hail the New York. What?
I said what? They're number
all
one.
Hail the New. All hail the New York Mets and their beloved baseball team in-house dining options. Citi Field, home stadium for the Mets, was voted stadium food in the nation for USA Today's latest Reader's Choices Awards. The US Today 10 Best Readers Awards for 2026 highlight the very best in travel, food, and drink and lifestyle. Every week, USA Today's 10 Best invites a panel of industry experts to nominate their favorite points of interest and attractions across a wide range of categories. This week, awards focus on baseball. Best stadium food. Located in Flushing, Queens, Citi Field is home to the New York Mets. The open-air ballpark ranked first among best baseball stadium food.
I did hear that somewhere. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Patrons can indulge an array of burgers and milkshakes from the Shake Shack, as well as in a variety of food that represents New York City's cultural identity. Eats range from classic New York-style hot dogs and salt pretzels to pastrami sandwiches and cheesesteaks. The stadium, which opened in 2009, can seat approximately 41,900 people. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Joe?
No, like I said, I've heard that somewhere before, that they do have some excellent food options. I mean, every stadium does, I'm sure. But, yeah, that I heard that they were one of the top-rated food places, and that just confirms it. That's an excellent article. And I've had a chance to sample it myself a couple of times and would certainly agree.
And we have other New York baseball-themed awards, too, though. The Brooklyn Sluggers, located in Brooklyn, ranked 9th among the best in batting cages. Popular with novices and sluggers alike, the spot has a team of trainers who can show you the ropes. Tarkin start at $3. When does anything cost $3 now, right?
Right.
Anyway, Yankee Stadium in the Bronx was voted 9th among best Major League Baseball stadiums. The stadium is one of the most recognizable landmarks. The stadium is one of the most recognizable. And the original structure opened in 1923, public in 2009. It has numerous on-site eateries, a museum, and seats roughly 46,000. Now we're going to get onto a regular scheduled program. I just thought that would cheer you up a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We all love talking about food, right?
Yep. Let's go on to the Yankees injury report, starting with left-handed pitcher Carlos Rodon, who is recovering from left elbow surgery. Rodon made a second rehab start for AA Somerset on April 30th. The lefty threw 76 pitches and 52 strikes, allowing 1 run in 5 1/3 innings played. Another start this time in AAA before the team decides its next options. Expected return sometime in May. Right-handed, next is right-handed pitcher Garrett Cole, still recuperating from Tommy John surgery. Cole made his third rehab AA Somerset on April 29th. The 2023 AL Cy Young Award through 60 pitches, allowing 3 hits, 3 runs, and 3 strikeouts over 5 2/3 innings played. He is scheduled to make his next rehab start today with the High Hudson Valley Renegades. Next is shortstop Anthony Volpe, left shoulder surgery. Volpe's 20-day rehab window has closed, but the 25-year-old shortstop, guess what, Joe, will not be returning to the Yankees.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm. He will be optioned from the injury list to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. The Yankees have decided to stick with Jose Caballero, as he has been one of the team's hottest batters. The 29-year-old also has been making great defensive plays as well. So let's turn it over to you, Joe, for some Mets news. Joe?
All right, thank you. I was going to say with that Jose, you must have been watching a lot of Montreal Canadiens games lately. I don't know if you've seen that. And I know you're going to be watching a lot more Montreal Canadiens games coming up starting tomorrow, but we'll talk about that another time here. So lots going on with the Mets. And, on top of not playing well here, a lot of injuries starting to pile up, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'll go over some transactions here, kind of getting rid of some waste at first here. And Tommy Pham, they gave a start. Now, he had played with the Mets a couple of years ago, did okay with them. They brought him up for another shot. He went 0 for 13, and then they sent him back down to Syracuse. He refused that, so he is now a free agent. But in his place, it made room for an old friend that we talked about last year before he got hurt, pitcher Christian Scott, who is definitely making some great strides. Again, hurt his arm and was out for a while. So great to have him back here. And again, he had been in Syracuse for a little bit too. Like I said, just kind of trying to get back to where he was last year. So far with the Mets, it started 2 games, but only pitched a total of 6 1/3 innings. So again, brief starts there. He gave up 3 hits in those 6 1/3. 2 of them were home runs, so we'll keep an eye on that. A total of 3 earned runs so far. 9 strikeouts, though. So that's definitely getting back to where he was. So it'd take a little bit of time, and hopefully he can continue to progress and get back to where he was. Now, the Mets signed a few other players here. A guy named Austin Slater, who the Mets, before he got to the Mets, he's played for 6 different teams in the last 2 seasons since 2024. This year, earlier, he was playing with the Miami Marlins, was batting 174, so they let him go. I guess the Mets will be maybe the lucky number 7. Who knows? But just trying to pick up some depth. And, pretty much everybody on the Mets seems to be hitting 174, so he'll fit right in with them. Also picked up Andy Ibanez on waivers from the A's. We'll see what he can do. Now, as far as players that have been doing quite well with them and that they're very happy with, Luis Torrens playing a great backup catcher the last couple of seasons. And for a while, again, with Alvarez's injuries, he was the main catcher for a while and filled in very well. He actually signed a contract extension, which goes through 2028. So he'll be around with the Mets for a while longer, and certainly, again, a valuable player. Now, as far as injuries and people that have left and people that are coming back, now we were talking about pitcher A.J. Minter, and he's been making some rehab starts, and he's due back anytime. Certainly pitching depth is something the Mets, any team really, could use. He had left lat surgery, and he should be back this week sometime. But some guys have gone down that were doing pretty well. Luis Robert Jr. has what's called a lumbar spine herniation. Doesn't seem like it's too serious. He was placed on the IL on April 27th, and he's due back, they say, mid to late May. So a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So nothing long term. Now, Francisco Lindor, It's going to take him a while to get going now. I mean, he was off to a horrible start, has now a left calf strain, has had that. April 23rd, he was put on the IL. Saw him walking around at the Knicks game the other night, so I guess he had room to do that. But he's not due back for another month and a half. They're saying late May or even early to mid-June. So I guess if you want to put that in the middle, we're talking about a month from now that it could be for Lindor to come back. So, and then it's just going to take him that much longer to get going. So really a rough start for Francisco Lindor this season. Now, again, that lumbar spine thing here, Kodai Senga was put on the IL, same reason, April 28th. And he, again, same time frame as Lindor. Basically, we may not see him for a month. He was struggling, badly the last few starts. Some bright spots, or that were bright spots, Ronnie Mauricio had made some strides here and was making some contributions to the Mets, but fractured his left thumb, and this was just a couple of days ago here, put on the IL as of 2 days ago, the 3rd. It's going to be probably another month and a half before he can come back. They're saying late June, early July. So it's going to be a while before he can get back in the lineup. And then other guys, minor players, but still could help. Mike Tauchman, outfielder, left meniscus tear, mid-June return. Justin Hagerman has a fractured rib. He coming back around that same time frame. Jared Young was off to a good start. He tore the meniscus, not coming back till, they say, early to mid-June. So injuries starting to pile up at a time where the Mets really don't need them. And again, especially some of the bigger ones, Juan Soto had been out. He back now and doing well, but still they're going to have to deal with some of these and try to figure things out. And, we'll talk about some other news and some thoughts that I have after we hear some more Yankees news here. So, Jamie, I'm going to send it right back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. But I have to start out with some sad news about every Yankees favorite friend and broadcaster, John Sterling, passing away yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The MLB lost a legendary radio broadcaster yesterday in John Sterling. The 87-year-old was making longtime memories for 36 seasons that will be remembered. The New York-born sportscaster began with the Yankees in 1989 on WABC.
Mm-hmm.
He broadcasted with many colleagues, but his last was with Susan Waldman until he retired in 2024. As one of the most adored announcers in the game, he was also known for his iconic lines. And one of the most heard is, "Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win." Every time they win at the conclusion of the game. I hope I did it justice there, though. Joe,
I was going to say,
remember
that was very good.
Yeah, John, he'd be proud if he.
I would think.
Anyway, now we're going to move on to Yankees prospects. We're going to start with AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. But finally, after, I don't know, Lord knows how long, it finally happened, but better late than never. We're going to talk about their number one prospect who was just promoted from AA to AAA. And you know who I'm talking about here, Joe? Our Junior.
Yeah.
Yep. AAA already. And he doesn't turn 21 until June 2nd. Think about that. And he's already up on AAA.
Yeah, that's awesome. No surprise,
he's a fast
though.
developer. So, yeah. I told you, Evan velo in high school. He almost had 100-mile exit velo in high school, which is crazy to think about when they drafted him.
Wow.
So, he went 1 of 3 with 2 walks and a strikeout and was caught stealing and was picked off. He was very fidgety on base, Pat, but still reached safely 3 times in his AAA debut. Next, Oswaldo Cabrera. He was 2 of 3 with 2 walks. He's rebounded tremendously and is continuing to rake while recovering from his season-ending injury last season. Next, Spencer Jones. He went 1 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, but he had a solid week in AAA and is knocking on the door to make his major league debut. Spencer Jones is on the cusp, and everybody, including him, can taste it. But is there room for him at the table? The Yankees' number 6 prospect kept up his hot-hitting ways with a homer and 3 hits during AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre's doubleheader split against Buffalo on Friday at PNC Field. Jones homered for his 8th time in the night game, an 8-3 Rail Riders loss after filling up the box score during a 2-0 win in Game 1 with 2 hits and 2 stolen bases. The 24-year-old has had a hit in 5 of his past 6 games, hiking his average up 30 points. One of the best power hitting prospects in the game, Jones is on the trajectory to last year when he slugged 35 home runs in all 3 minor league levels. The 6'7", 6'7", 240-pound averaged 1 home run per 12 and a half at bats in 2025. So far, he's averaging 1 per 12.9 at bats through his first 29 games of 2026. While he's definitely played well by hitting enough for a call-up, there just might not be room for him, as Jason Dominguez, Aaron Judge, and Trent Grisham all have a lock hold on their roster positions. Mm-hmm. So, Joe, why might it be a good thing that Jones may have to do a little bit more in AAA before they feel like he's actually ready to make his debut?
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to make a comment about John Sterling here, too. Now, Yankees fans aren't the only ones, that'll miss his broadcasting. Now, I've been listening to John Sterling since I was 10 years old, but I was not 10 years old in 1989. I started listening to John Sterling 10 years old when I first became a fan of the New York Islanders. And he's one of the reasons that I'm an Islander fan still today, because I was getting into hockey at that time. And John Sterling was the radio voice of the New York Islanders for about 4 years there in the late 70s. This was in 1976 where I first started to listen to him. And his goal calls every time the Islanders scored, he would be like, they'd score, he's coming in, goal. He'd be like, Islander goal, Islander goal. And every single time they scored, he would do that. And Islander fans would still, remember that, I'm sure. And again, he only lasted with them for about 3 or 4 years, and then he got other opportunities. And of course, the big opportunity where he excelled at. And, growing up, I was anti-Yankees and I didn't want the Yankees to win, but still, it's iconic every time I'd hear, I'm not even going to try to do it because I wouldn't do it as well as you and him, but the Yankees win call at the end and, his home run calls and things like that. And what I've heard too is more and more reports of just what an amazing person he was. Not only just a great announcer, but there was a female sports announcer I saw on Twitter that was talking about how, she wrote to him to get some advice and getting in the sports broadcasting field. And she said he never wrote me back. So she wondered, but instead what he did was he called her personally, invited her to Yankee Stadium, gave her a tour, and then gave her the advice in person and stuff. So that was just one of, I'm sure, many types of things like that, that he did. So I definitely wanted to say something that I have very pleasant John Sterling memories as well. And certainly he'll be missed. But, going back to your question there and about guys getting called up, it seems like it's, especially with the Yankees, that they seem to do it at the right times. So it's sad for a player that can't get called up just because it's kind of overcrowded in the outfield and they already have a lot of outfield depth there. And, by the way, one of the best players in baseball there. Excuse me, but it's good, gives this guy a chance to develop in the minors. And I'm sure that's not what he wants, but it's going to give him that time to develop into a major league player. And that major league time, unfortunately, may not be with the Yankees if the situation remains, the same. He'd be a good trade prospect, I guess, if he's major league ready and he's not, going to be able to cut into the Yankees lineup. Again, probably not what he would want, but maybe that's how you get the opportunities. So, these other guys getting called up, I think it is the right time for them, and, certainly hope they take advantage of those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And how about George Lombard Jr. now only one step away from joining the Yankees, and he won't turn 21 until June 2nd.
Yeah. And again, the time is right. And if he keeps pitching or, playing well, then that time might be sooner than later where he gets the chance with the big club.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're going to move on to this is really funny. You know how the Mets could use pitching depth? I think the Yankees have a ton of – they could get a whole supply of pitchers. And I got another one for here, Joe. The flamethrower getting attention. The Yankees pitching rotation has just been the gift that keeps on giving in 2026. The starting five in the MLB leads the league in lowest ERAs, but they even have some dogs in the bullpen down on the farm. Where my dog's at? Anyway, one of these guys is 26-year-old Yavani Cruz. The Dominican athlete has a big arm, and he has shown that since being called up to AAA. He is 4-0 with a .82 ERA in 9 relief outings with the Rail Rider. He's striking out a whopping 13.9 batters every 9 innings while keeping their walks down to a 4.1 average. Oh, and it's awesome. The member our fastball club. I love that, Joe, right?
Right.
I do like control as much as I like velocity, but I love that velocity.
Of
you
course.
Can tell he could be. What?
I say most people do. That makes it exciting.
Yeah. You could tell his velocity is definitely MLB ready, and his command looks good too. So with reliever Jake Bird struggling early and Aaron Boone and co. looking for another high fastball reliever, Cruz could get called up as either a permanent replacement or as a showcase for other teams to acquire him at the deadline. Joe, how do the Yankees keep finding these pitchers as if they are like underneath their Christmas tree every December? I mean, remember we were talking about how the Pirates kept finding these guys. Remember with Bubba Chandler and Jared Jones and Paul Skeens, but now it looks like the Yankees are the Yankee scout team is telling Pittsburgh, hold my beer. We're doing this now,
Yeah, and you just said the S word there. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's superior scouting, and it's no coincidence that these teams find these gems. It's just like I said, superior scouting, and you got to give those guys kudos to the Yankees because again, this is not by accident. This is because they know what to look for, I guess. They know where to find them, and they know how to develop them. And the kudos to the Yankees and the Pirates, and I'm sure there's some other teams out there that are doing the same thing. Maybe not as well as these teams, but their scouting definitely has to be credited because again, it's no coincidence that they're finding these guys.
Mm-hmm. And how can this kid showcase his arm to show that he could stay with the Yankees permanently instead of being displayed as a trade deadline case or acquisition?
Yeah, that's a tough call, because of the pitching depth that the Yankees do have, and they're going to even get more of it, as you get deeper into the summer here. So that's a tough question. And he's just going to have to go out and do his thing. Don't worry about that. Just go out and be the best pitcher you can be, continue to learn, continue to improve, and just let that other stuff happen as it happens. But just go out and be yourself. Again, show off your talent, try to improve it, find ways to do better. And just, again, don't worry about what's going to happen beyond that.
Speaking of Yankee Hispanic big arms, how about another one here is Elmer Rodriguez gets his shot. Let's see. So Elmer Rodriguez at last made his MLB debut since being acquired from Red Sox in exchange for catcher Carlos Narvaez. The 22-year-old athlete showed potential. The 22-year-old athlete showed potential, only allowing 2 runs in the Yankees' 3-0 defeat to the Texas Rangers. And oddly enough, he's pitching tonight against the Rangers too. Pick up DeGrom like the last matchup.
I was going to say against DeGrom. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He earned his call-up after Luis Hill was sent down to AAA to try to get his velocity back up to his 2024 AL Rookie of the Year form. His arm was much needed with the Yankees' depleted rotation that now is going to have reinforcements in Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole getting healthier, as we're just sitting away, watching the days go by lately. On Friday, Yankees manager Aaron Boone told New York Daily News Sports' Gary Phillips that his next rehab start with AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre could be his last, potentially putting him in a spot to join the rotation next week. That's Carlos Rodon. With Rodon and Cole potentially rejoining the Yankees, Rodriguez may not have a ton of time to solidify his spot in the majors this time around, but a strong effort could lead to another call-up in the near future. So, Joe, how awesome was it for Rodriguez to have all of his hard work pay off and finally make his debut with the Yankees, even though he kind of had his ups and downs in his first start, and he's kind of having the same struggles right now? But
yeah, the first start he pitched more like Elmer Fudd, I guess, right? But the second one, he a little bit more improved. So again, it's going to take some time. And again, first start at Yankee Stadium, you think it's a little nerve-wracking? I would definitely think so. But again, he's going to improve. And same thing, just do your best. Just this is the teacher in me talking, I guess, right, for this. But just go out there and be you and continue to, again, to do what's got you here. And then just find ways to improve and learn and go from there, which I'm sure that he's smart enough to do.
Yeah, and like I said, Joe, the one thing about him is he's got his velocity was MLB ready. It's in like a lot of his pitches are in the mid to upper 90s, and the velocity is there. It's just I think it's a little bit more with his command because he has a tendency to walk a lot of people with that velocity. So what lessons do you think he could take from his first outing and even this outing, back to AAA for potential future starts?
Yeah, good. I think that control part of it and the command part of it is a big one. Again, he's not the only pitcher that age that has issues with control and command. I think that's just going to come with time. And again, just take those steps that game by game. Don't try to be Nolan Ryan, by your next game. All right, because that's not going to happen. You just take your victories. When things go wrong, you learn from that. He's got great coaches there too that are going to help him with that. So just game by game. Again, you don't have to be Cy Young by tomorrow. Just game by game, and he'll get it.
Because, like I said, if he just has to work on his control, at least the velocity that he has is natural, which is good.
Right, and that's the hard part.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about somebody who's also got his fastball up into the mid to upper 90s. And is actually doing. Will Warren strikes out 9 in his second straight great start. Will Warren continues to prove he wants to stay in the Yankees rotation, not by words, but actions. Warren cruised past 6 1/3 innings, allowing 2 runs, 1 earned on 3 hits and 1 walk, and striking out 9 batters. The earned run came in the second inning when he allowed a homer to former Met and current Baltimore Oriole Pete Alonso, who hit a monster shot into the second deck in right field. Warren has lowered his ERA from 2.59 to 2.39. He is arguably the most underrated pitcher on New York staff. And we have a quote here from the manager. You say Warren is the guy we haven't talked about, Yankees manager Aaron Boone said. The body of work starting with spring training has been excellent over and over again. It just built up in spring training. It just carried into the season. And another quote, the stuff has been excellent. The strike throwing is there. He was in command. You see all the swings and misses. He did a great job using the sinker in combination with using the 4-seamer. The sweeper looked good. He mixed in the changeup well. Just another really strong performance. It wasn't just Boone who saw that Warren was cooking. Orioles manager Craig Albernes said Warren made adjustments from last year. Warren is one of the reasons the Yankees have a killer rotation. After Warren's outing, New York starters have only allowed, get ready for this, Joe, a 1.79 ERA over the past 13 games and are averaging 6 1/3 per start. And like I said, Joe, I wrote an article saying that this could be the best Yankees starting 5 since the 1998 Murders Row one that won the World Series.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, who are on the 15-day injured list with elbow injuries, and think about that. They've only allowed a 1.79 ERA, and their best 2 pitchers are making rehab starts. Think about that with the way their ERA. And they just had their 5th starter was a rookie debut, making 2 starts. So there you go. And anyway, we have a quote here from Aaron Boone again. When I look at the rotation, it's Max Fried, but it's not just him. Obviously, he's the leader. But there's another guy who's following him into. I'm not surprised by anything he has done. Boone said Cam Slittler, the follower here, who what we saw last year, Will taking another step. We are excited to bring Ryan Weathers, and he has been excellent. I can't say I'm surprised by any individual success. The fact that they have put a 2-week run with that kind of excellence, pitching deep into the game, that's hard to come by. And we have a quote here. We kind of shifted. There was more off speed than I'm used to, he said. Being able to shift and still have confidence throwing out there and getting the results we had is nice to do. Anyway, it may not matter how well Warren does, as he may be out once Rodon and Cole return. But I don't know. I would keep Will Warren in there right now. He's the hottest one, and like I said, don't rush Cole or Rodon with what they're doing. So,
right.
And we have a quote here. I think we're going in all of baseball. Warren said, when they come back, the best pitchers are going to the innings. I have to make sure I can go out there and do my job. The record, the 24-11, the best in the American League. Excuse me. So, Joe, what do you think of Will Warren being a contributor to arguably one of the best pitching rotations in baseball so far, and probably one of the best Yankee rotations this generation has seen, because they weren't around for 1998 the Murders Row 1998 rotation?
Yeah, I agree. And first, we got to say hello to one of our network cohorts here, Marcus, who sent a comment in here. So, Marcus, if you're still watching us, thank you, and hope you're doing well. It's good to see you here. But yeah, I can't think of a better rotation right now than this one. I mean, just every single one of these guys is just solid starts. And again, we talk all the time, Jamie, right, about that innings and how, starters don't go innings anymore. And these guys are going 6 1/3 on average. So they're just spot on. And it's one of the big reasons, if not, I mean, they can hit the ball too, the Yankees lineup. But it's just incredible pitching. Again, like you said, without their top two people. And now you have that comfort that, like you said, you don't exactly have to rush them back. I'm sure they're chomping at the bit, ready to get back here, but no rush, right?
Mhm.
And maybe they're going to have some decisions to make, once that happens in a couple of months. But stay tuned. But these guys are pitching incredible. Schlittler, especially, every time I look, he's having another amazing start. Again, Warren, all these guys. And by the way, there's this guy Fried that's doing quite well also. So they should be very proud of themselves. And again, it's one of the big reasons that they're the best team in the American League right now.
Mm-hmm. And how much better could it be when Rodon and Cole return? I don't know. It could be. We'll see. I don't know how.
It will be better. And again, you have that comfort too. If, let's say, these guys maybe are not used to pitching a lot of innings, and if it starts to catch up to them in the summer, let's say, as we get into July and August, when those other guys are back, it might come at a time where they start to wear out a little bit. And, maybe some of the regression switches a little bit and they struggle a little bit because, again, not being used to that load, or teams maybe figuring them out, and they're going to have to make some adjustments to that. So there's room for that. So there's a lot less pressure on these guys. If they start to regress a little bit, then, again, you got Rodon and Cole to step in. So it's really just a win-win situation. And this rotation is only going to get better once those guys come in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now let's turn it over one more time. We're going to celebrate to Joe for some more Mets news.
All right. Well, thanks, Jamie. Thanks for that excellent Yankee news. Got to be honest, though, there's not a lot of celebrating going on here in Mets land. And I tell you what, I'm glad. Not that I'm glad. I mean, I missed the podcast last week and wish, we had it. But I would have been a lot more fired up last week's podcast and would have ripped into this team a lot more than I am going to now had we been on last week, because they were coming up one of the lowest points in their recent history. How about scoring one run in a Sunday doubleheader at home against the booming dynasty of the Colorado Rockies, who was historically one of the worst teams ever in baseball last year? Again, they're improved this year, yes, but to score one run in a doubleheader at home against them and get swept off your own field by the Colorado Rockies, that's one of the low points of low points here. So again, some time has gone on here and it's kind of not as fresh as it would have been a week ago. And I'm going to be honest with you. Now I'm going to talk about some things I've been following. I love hockey. The local team here is making a playoff run, and there's other great hockey going on. I love basketball. The New York basketball team is making a run, and I seriously think they're going to the NBA Finals. That's what I'm paying attention to these days. So, again, the fact that the Mets are playing awful and bad things are happening, I'm not watching these games, So there's other things going on. So it's not like I'm sitting in front of the TV getting ticked off. When I'm on my phone reading about the garbage that's happening, I do. But I have a few theories here that I'm going to discuss. Now, let me give the weekly rundown here first. Now, since we spoke last, the Mets are 6-6. So you may think, well, that's not the end of the world. But again, when you're losing games and getting swept at home by the Rockies, losing to the Twins, I think they won 2 out of 3 of that series, but losing 14-2 to the Washington Nationals, again, that's not good. All right. Now, the Mets were outscored 55-47. Though one of those games, again, was losing 14-2. So if you take that out, giving up 54 minus 14, what's that? 41. Giving up 41 runs in 11 games. That's not awful. So really the pitching hasn't been that awful. Again, minus one bad game there. And again, they gave up 8 in another and had some bad games, but they're losing games 1-0 and 3-1 and stuff like that. So obviously it's the hitting that's the biggest problem. And I'm not going to go through the stats like I normally do because I think there's other things to talk about here. The stats suck for everybody except Juan Soto, pretty much. Juan Soto, as you look at some of these StatCast numbers, I forgot to put him in my notes here, but he's in the upper like 95, 99 percentiles in a lot of these StatCast categories. So Juan Soto is playing like Juan Soto is supposed to play. Can't criticize that. Carson Benj, this hotshot rookie that made the team in the last, day of the preseason and started off hitting, half of the Mendoza line, basically. He's starting to get things together, so that's good to see, and hopefully that can continue. But the rest of this team has nothing, and things are going to have to change. Now, instead of talking about the stats and who's doing what and what's going on there, I'm going to make a little comparison. I thought about this, and I'm going to put it out there. If anybody's listening or you want to comment and tell me if I'm way off base or not. I live in Buffalo here, and the local hockey team, the Sabres, has been the biggest joke in all of sports up until about 4 months ago. All right. Now, that title has transferred to the team that we discuss on this podcast every week, and we're certainly not talking about the Yankees. So now the biggest joke in all of sports is the New York Mets. So I was looking at some parallels here. Okay. Now, I'm going to explain this well enough so that if anybody here, watching us is not familiar with the Buffalo Sabres and their situation, I'm going to kind of simplify it to make sure everybody can understand this. All right. And just kind of show some parallels. Now, why were the Buffalo Sabres hockey team the biggest joke in sports for, a decade and a half here almost? It goes with the losing culture that was produced, but they had a coach named Lindy Ruff. Right now, Jamie, I'm not a big Lindy Ruff fan. I don't think he's a great coach, but where I do give him credit, and we'll start back when he was the coach with the team before in the mid, first decade of the 2000s there, and when he took them to a Stanley Cup Finals and stuff like that. I was never thought he was a great coach, but he's very good at coaching what he has. Okay. So that's where I can give him credit. Now, in 2006, 2007, the Sabres were the top team in the regular season, Stanley Cup contenders. But it wasn't because of the coaching. It was because of the team leaders that they had. All right. Guys named Chris Drury and Danny Briere, some of the best captains and leaders that this team has ever had. So I said to people all the time, Lindy Ruff was not the coach of that team. Chris Drury was. Danny Briere was. There was another guy, Greer, that was a coach of that team. And Lindy Ruff, to give him, again, the credit that he deserves, he just kind of let go and let them do their thing, okay? Now, after that 2007 season, both Drury and Briere left as free agents. Mm-hmm. So the team leaders were gone. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Lindy Ruff didn't have his coaches anymore. And again, him not being a great coach, this team went down the hill. And actually, they made some playoffs, but they were heartless. They didn't fight for each other like they did. They took games off, and Ruff allowed that. All right. And eventually, he ended up losing his job. And again, it was just hockey hell for, up until December of 2025. Now, last season, the Sabres brought him back. I thought it was a mistake. I didn't think he was the right guy to fix this team. And again, they didn't do well last year, not necessarily his fault. And again, all of a sudden now, in December of 25 and throughout, now all of a sudden this team became good. All right. And what's one of the biggest reasons that they became good?
They're changing to the general manager too.
Well, I think you want to talk about the culture. I was going to say that the culture changed when the new general manager came in. Okay. Yeah. But the players, the team leaders that they have, all of a sudden stepped up. Now, Alex Tuck, he's not the captain of the team. Darlene is, but I really think Alex Tuck is the true leader of this team. He's been on a Stanley Cup Finals team. He's just got that leadership mentality. Tage Thompson, Darlene, some of these guys that have been with the team, all of a sudden decided to step up and become leaders. Now, again, where I criticize Lindy Ruff, and again, he's not a good leader and motivator, but he allowed these guys to do what they do, let them lead. He has stepped in when he had to, and I think he's very good at stepping in and doing what he has to do at the right times. So I do, I do commend him for that. And my friends are making fun of me. It's like, well, Joe, you're going to criticize him if he's coach of the year because he's one of 3 that have a chance to get that? And I would certainly say he would deserve it if he gets that. Again, not for his motivating and turning this whole team around type thing, but being there as it's happening and, just kind of steering the ship the right way. So I would say he definitely deserves it. So now, okay, you're wondering, what in God's name does this have to do with the New York Mets? Okay. Well, I see a lot of similarities. All right. Now, Carlos Mendoza is not a motivating manager. All right. And, again, my first solution is fire the manager. I don't think he's cut out for this. I think they need a leadership change. All right. But it doesn't seem like they're smart enough to do that. Now, he's the same type of manager, to me, as I just talked about with Lindy Ruff. Okay. If he had players that would step up and lead, then I think he'd be good where he'd step in where he needs to and, make some decisions, do some things that he has to do, but basically let the players do everything. And that, to me, is the biggest problem with the New York Mets right now. All right. Now, there was hints of this. I think Francisco Lindor should be the biggest leader on this team. Now, when he first got here, he was making adjustments and struggled a little bit, and it took him a couple of years, but he was an MVP candidate a couple of years ago. And he was actually demonstrating a lot of that leadership ability. And what happened when he did that? This team took off to the NLCS. All right. And he, again, was an MVP candidate. He took the team on his back, led them. Yes, there were some big hits by Alonso and other players. But when Lindor decided he wanted to be a leader, look where this team went. All right. With, look who was managing it. Okay. Now, you got Soto, who's still kind of getting used to things. The problem with him is I don't know if he's like leadership material, maybe eventually. Again, he lets his bat do the talking. He's doing incredible since he's got back from the injured list. Maybe in time he takes it over. But here's the problem with the team they have now. They're not short on talent. Half the team is new, though, and any potential leaders that could have stepped in, guys like Alonso, McNeil, Nimmo, they're all gone. And now you got all these new guys that are making the same adjustments to a new team that don't give me the impression that they're leadership material here, or at least not anytime soon. And you got a manager who doesn't lead, and you got players that don't lead. Okay? So, again, my thing is the best solution is to get a new manager who leads. Now, the name keeps ringing in my head. Some guy you might know named Girardi. That would be my number one choice. But there's plenty of guys out there, too.
He's announcing with the Yankees, right? And then,
yeah.
I don't think he'd want to leave that job, though.
No, you don't think he would want to take it? He would want to manage the – I mean, with the mess that the Mets are in, I don't know. I don't know anybody that would want to manage this team right now. That's the problem. That's the problem the Sabres had,
Well, no, I hate to tell you, though, Joe, Girardi would not be that great on the Mets because I'll tell you something like and that good on the Yankees. Like I said, look at remember Casey Stengel was he won all those championships with the Yankees, and then he did horrible on as with the Mets as an expansion manager. So
Right. And that's one name that stood out to me. I mean, again, there's plenty of them as well. But, the Sabres had this problem for a long time, even the Buffalo Bills in football, where nobody wanted to come here. Players didn't want to come here. Coaches didn't want to come here,
mhm,
right? And look at the Sabres. The players
mhm.
didn't want to play there, and people didn't
Yeah,
want to get
well, Joe,
drafted by them.
I do want to know why they were so good with Lindy the first time around. And nobody ever says this, but I'll say it. What
Uh-huh.
happened? What happened? The prior season, before the 05-06 season. What was going on before that?
Well, there was no season.
Yes, there was a lockout, and
Yep.
so you obviously remember they locked out because they didn't have a salary cap. But remember, they were playing the old NHL rules. Remember, they were playing 2-line pass, clutching and
Mhm.
grabbing and everything else. Well, the Sabres realized what they did was coming out of the lockout. How do we gain an advantage over everybody that's still playing that way? You get a bunch of speedy, fast guys, and now that we don't clutch and grab, we're just going to outskate the other
Mhm.
teams, and everybody was playing clutching and grabbing. But then when they got rid of Briere and Drury, everybody started building that same type of team with Crosby and Kane. And now if you watch hockey now, the way the games play is the way the Sabres did coming out of the lockout. The Sabres changed the way the game is played now, where everybody plays with speed and everything like that. So Lindy had the advantage of coaching a great team coming out of the lockout, and Darcy Regier was just really smart about what they had to do coming out of it. That's why.
Mhm. And that's a very good
They were
point.
just faster than everybody, and everybody was still playing clutching and grabbing. That's why.
Right. Yeah, I stopped watching hockey for a while because it was so bad. But just a couple of more things to say about this here is, again, whoever it is, if you're not going to get rid of this manager, then you got to get some really high character guys in that locker room that can be team leaders, and do something about that. Now, the last thing I want to say is, I heard something on Twitter, this rant, and it was a polite rant. I mean, he wasn't being obnoxious. There's anybody in New York would know this guy named Don LaGreca, who's on ESPN radio in New York. And I saw this rant on Twitter, and I thought he was right on with everything he was saying. Now, he agrees too. He thinks that the Mets should get rid of Mendoza, and that's the logical first step. All right. Now, he says this, and a couple of things he said during this rant. He said, if David Stearns is keeping Carlos Mendoza, which apparently it seems that's happening, then he's admitting that this problem with the Mets is not a Mendoza problem. It's a roster problem. And guess who created that roster? So he's saying Stearns, then, if he's saying this is the roster problem that he himself created, then he needs to own that and say that it's on him. I thought I brought in the right guys, but I admit that I didn't. And now I'm going to have to do something about it and make some changes. So you say something like that, the players hear that, it's got their attention because they hear, oh, shoot, there might be some changes. Maybe I'm one of those changes. And he says, the general manager has to come out and say, everybody is on notice. All right. And again, once again, he should own it and just walk away. And all he's got to do in a press conference is say, that's it. I own it and I'm going to fix it. And he said even, what they should have done before the plane ride home coming from LA, for example, is he should have went to the Mets and said, look, anybody here that does not want to be here on this team, please raise your hand. He says, if you raise your hand, I promise I'll move you. I'll cut you. I'll, DFA you. I'll do whatever. And don't even get on the plane then. All right. And then after that, you say, well, who's with me then? And you kind of get the players on board. And he says, look, you can't just sit around and wait for this to get better. He said, losers do that. You have to own this, correct it, fix it, and put any player on notice that if you don't pull your weight here, you're gone. And at least maybe that is because again, what I say about this team all the time, I said it at the last half of last year. I've been saying it at the beginning of this year. Heartless. No heart, no fire, no motivation, no desire. That even if this team was what are they, 45 games? I don't care if they're 45 and 5. And they're playing heartless baseball and non-motivated. I still don't want to watch it. They're 13 and 22 now. I don't care if they're 3 and 42. If they're playing with heart and fire and motivation, I'll watch every single game. Okay. You need that fire. You need that heart. And if the manager isn't going to provide that, then get him the hell out of there. If he is, and if you think he's the guy, then you, the general manager, you do something about it and you fix this problem. That's what this guy was saying. I agreed with him 1,000,000% on that. And I think that's where we have to go with that. So,
but it's like, here's the right. But here's the thing though, Joe, like what's a GM or what's a manager supposed to do to fire up a roster that has a $400 million payroll? I mean, that's what you have to be careful with too.
You know what, though, when it's this bad, and that's a very good question, by the way. But when it's this bad, and again, that's why they're the biggest joke in all of sports. You know, if they had an Oakland A's payroll or a Tampa Bay Rays payroll, and they're struggling here, okay. But no, this is the second biggest payroll in baseball. And you got some really good players on this team that are playing like they don't even care. Hey, you're a major league manager. That's one of your jobs. And if you can't do it, I mean, again, I don't know what he's trying. I'm sure he is, but whatever he's doing is not working. So again, if you tell me that Mendoza is the guy, David Stearns, okay, well then what are you going to do to fix it? That's what we got to see. So, you know, again, they're 13 and 22, 11 and a half games back. And that's why I say, if a change is made now, it's Cinco de Mayo. I mean, there's still 1 billion games left in this season. I think of teams like the Florida Marlins, who fired their manager on like May 30th the one year and come back and win the World Series. And, you know, it's happened other times too. And again, much later than now, where teams righted the ship and got going and played into the World Series. So it's not too late. That's what bothers me even more, is that they're not making any changes, thinking it's just going to fix itself. So we'll see. I mean, they were rained out tonight. They got 2 more against Colorado, weekend series in Arizona, which again, win 2 out of those 3. And then some tough series next week, a 3-game series in the beginning of the week against the Tigers at Citi Field. And then any idea, Jamie, who they're playing on the weekend next week? That's it. So that would, you know, a way to correct themselves. But so that's where I am. And so I think more important than talking stats is just, you know, that's where it's at. And we got a lot of comments here, Roger here, which we appreciate. I don't have my glasses in, so it's kind of hard for me to see exactly what you're saying there. But let's go Mets, sweep the Yanks. Okay. I won't argue with you there. I saw that. But yeah, so we appreciate the comments. Thanks for staying with us here and staying for my little mini rant. Again, that's about as heated as I get. You know, my students get disappointed. It's like, wait a minute, you yelled at us without yelling at us. You know, that's kind of how it is. But yeah, so they better do something fast, and we'll see what happens. So I'll send it back to you.
Yeah. So anyway, guess what, Joe? It's now that time in our show for a question of the week. So give it a try.
Yes, I would love that.
Anyway, here's your question, Joe. Guess which one of these players hit the most home runs in the 1990s? The steroid era, as we call it. The era that saved baseball from the 1994 lockout. Okay. Adam always reminds me of that. Thank you, Adam. We have A, Mark McGuire. B, Barry Bonds. C, Sammy Sosa. He always used to do that when he came up to bat or hit a home run. Or D, the admirable Ken Griffey Jr.
Very good question. Now, this is in the 90s.
Yep.
All right. I had a one in my head before you said anything, and you did mention him. So I'm going to go with my gut there. I am going to say Mark McGuire.
No, it was actually Ken Griffey Jr.
It was
Ken Griffey Jr. Had the most with 382, followed by Barry Bonds with 361, Sammy Sosa with 332. Mark McGuire had the fewest on this with only 245.
Really?
And that, imagine he couldn't even cheat. He cheated. He couldn't even cheat right. At least Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa cheated right. Mark McGuire only hit 245 and he was juiced up. Think about that.
Yeah. Hey, I found a question that my friend Tom sent me. He wanted me to ask you this one. So let's, do you want to try a trivia question, Jamie?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Now, again, I don't have my glasses on here, so it's kind of hard to see. Now, he says, which New York Yankees leadoff hitter holds the record for the most home runs in one season?
Which leadoff hitter?
Yes. Leadoff hitter holds the record for the most home runs in one season. Now, I got the names Soriano, Jeter, Henderson, Gardner.
Soriano.
The correct answer, Soriano.
Yeah.
13 home runs in the leadoff spot. I don't see what year it was. It cut off, but you are correct. So Jamie 1, Joe 0, as far as trivia answers correct this week.
Hey, Joe, I actually have. Well, I have. This could be a huge what if. You know, it's really funny about the Yankees. You know, when they guess, you know how they traded Alfonso Soriano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who they ended up getting for him? Alex Rodriguez. Isn't that what's funny about it? What if they for Rodriguez and they kept Soriano? I wonder what would have happened. Because A-Rod, but think about it. A-Rod was one of the best players in the league, but Soriano was too, and he was with the Yankees. You know what I mean? He was playing like A-Rod, though.
Yeah, that's very ironic. I don't think I was aware of that.
It's just it's the same thing when they got rid of it's the same thing when they traded David Wells and they ended up getting Roger Clemens.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
both
Roger
of those guys were great. Same thing, both Soriano and A-Rod were great players. That's the funny thing.
That is great. So, hey, our Roger says go Sabres, too. I could see it here.
Yeah, go Sabres.
You know, he agrees that the leadership culture is where it all begins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Casey was 80 years old when he took over the Mets. So the years the Mets team.
Well, yeah, that was an expansion team. So, you know, that team had like probably a bunch of like veterans that were way past their time and rookies that were basically not ready for the big leagues back then.
Right. Yeah, nobody was going to get that team to win. But yeah, Roger, thank you for the comments there. We appreciate you watching and commenting.
Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media world on Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, 2,000,026?
Yeah, this Spanish teacher always appreciates Cinco de Mayo. So I could be found on Twitter X, you know, where I posted a video of La Greca saying what I shared here. So, you know, that and some other statistical information, Juan Soto's barrel rates and excellent StatCast numbers, other statistical stuff, Twitter X, Joe Dell Sports is my handle there. sometimes on some shows on this network too. Hopefully throughout the summer, I can make regular appearances on those as well once my schedule calms down.
Mm-hmm. You can follow me. You find me, yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also Jamie Molloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, Buffalo Down, and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell for all notifications. For more, content on Driving to the Top Productions, you can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you consume your podcast. For Joe Dalio, this is Jamie Molloy, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the Subway Conversation Channel on Driving to the Top Productions. Good night, everybody.
And like Roger says, adios, amigos.
Mm-hmm.